Captain Lee Dong-hyuk sat in the communications center of Earth Command when the first signals came through. The young officer had been monitoring routine traffic from the outer colonies when static filled his headset. He adjusted the controls and tried again. The signal was weak but urgent. Someone was broadcasting from New Busan, the farming world that fed half the human colonies in that sector. "This is New Busan Control to any human vessel," the voice crackled through the speakers. "We are under attack. Repeat, we are under massive orbital bombardment. Unknown alien ships are destroying our cities. They came without warning. No demands, no communication. They just started firing." Lee Dong-hyuk felt his blood turn cold. He immediately patched the signal through to Admiral Han Minho's office while keeping the channel open. The voice from New Busan continued, growing more desperate with each word. "Population centers are gone. Seoul District is burning. The atmosphere processors are destroyed. We count at least 50 enemy ships in orbit. They are using some kind of energy weapons we have never seen before. Our defense grid is completely overwhelmed." Admiral Han Minho rushed into the communications center, his face grim. He had commanded the human defense fleet for 20 years and had fought in 3 border wars with alien raiders. But this was different. This was total war against civilians. "Get me a visual," Han Minho ordered. Lee Dong-hyuk worked frantically at his console, trying to establish a video link with New Busan. The screen flickered and came to life, showing a man in a torn uniform standing in what looked like a damaged control room. Behind him, fires burned and smoke filled the air. The man's name tag, read Park Hyun-woo, Station Commander. "Admiral, thank God," Park Hyun-woo said when he saw Han Minho on his screen. "Sir, they are killing everyone. The ships are Velkari Empire vessels. We can see their markings clearly. They hit us 3 hours ago without any warning. No ultimatum, no chance to surrender. They just started destroying everything." Han Minho clenched his fists. The Velkari Empire was one of the major powers in this part of the galaxy. They had always been aggressive but had never attacked human worlds directly. Their territory bordered human space, and there had been tensions, but nothing like this. "What is your current status, Commander?" Han Minho asked. "Sir, we have lost all major cities. The capital is gone. Industrial zones are destroyed. They are targeting everything that can support human life. The orbital platforms are debris. Our few defense ships were vaporized in the first minutes. We estimate 12 million dead already, sir. The bombardment is continuing." Dr. Park Ji-woo entered the communications center, having heard the emergency alert. She was the chief scientist at Luna Station and had been working on defensive technologies for years. She looked at the screen and saw the devastation on Park Hyun-woo's face. "Commander, what kind of weapons are they using?" Dr. Park Ji-woo asked. "Unknown. Energy beams, ma'am. They cut through our shields like they were not there. The beams turn everything they touch into molten slag. Our sensors show they are using some kind of focused plasma technology we have never encountered. The heat signature is off any scale we know." Suddenly, the building around Park Hyun-woo shook violently. Sparks flew from damaged equipment, and alarms began blaring in the background. "Sir, they are targeting this facility now," Park Hyun-woo said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "I need to get the evacuation shuttles away from the planet. The few civilian ships we have left are trying to escape, but the Velkari are hunting them down one by one." "Negative, Commander," Han Minho said firmly. "Save who you can. Document everything. Record their ship configurations, their weapons, their tactics. Humanity needs to know what we are facing." "Understood, sir. Admiral, please tell our families that we fought. Tell them that New Busan did not surrender. We held our positions until the end." The transmission cut to static. Lee Dong-hyuk tried desperately to re-establish contact, but there was nothing. The communication satellites around New Busan had gone silent. Long-range sensors showed massive energy discharges throughout the system. Then gradually everything went dark. Ambassador Kim Yuna arrived at Earth Command 2 hours later. She had been in emergency session with the Galactic Council when news of the attack reached them. Her face was pale, and her hands shook as she entered the Situation Room where Han Minho and his staff were gathered. "Admiral, the Galactic Council has issued a statement," Kim Yuna said, her voice bitter. "They express regret for the loss of life, but state that territorial disputes between member species should be resolved through diplomatic channels. They refuse to condemn the Velkari action." Territorial dispute? Dr. Park Ji-woo stood up angrily. New Busan was colonized legally. We filed all the proper claims. The planet was uninhabited when we arrived. The Velkari claimed that human expansion has become too aggressive, Kim Yuna continued. They say we are taking resources that should belong to older galactic civilizations. Overlord Thextar himself spoke to the council. He called the attack a necessary correction to human ambitions. Han Minho remained silent for a long moment, staring at the tactical display that showed New Busan's system. Red indicators marked where human settlements had been. Now they were all dark. 12 million people, he said quietly. 12 million humans, farmers, teachers, children, they murdered them all. Captain Nam Tai-hyun entered the room carrying a data pad. He was one of the fleet's best reconnaissance officers and had been analyzing the attack data. Sir, our long-range scouts have reached the New Busan system, Nam Tai-hyun reported. The planet is gone, sir. Not just the cities. The entire planetary ecosystem has been destroyed. The atmosphere is poisoned with radioactive particles. The oceans are boiling. Nothing could survive there now. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Velkari had not just conquered New Busan. They had made it uninhabitable forever. This was not war. This was extermination. What about survivors? Dr. Park Ji-woo asked hopefully. None. Ma'am, no escape pods, no emergency shelters, no underground facilities. They were thorough. Our scouts detected no human life signs anywhere in the system. The few ships that tried to escape were destroyed in space. The Velkari left no witnesses except for the transmission logs we received. Han Minho walked to the window overlooking Earth. The blue planet looked peaceful from orbit, but he knew that peace was an illusion now. The galaxy had shown its true face. When aliens wanted human worlds, they simply took them. When humans died, the galaxy offered empty words and moved on. Admiral, Kim Yuna said carefully, the Galactic Council has requested that Earth send a delegation to discuss preventing future incidents. They want us to negotiate new boundaries for human expansion. Han Minho turned around slowly. His eyes were cold and his voice was steady. Send a message to all human colonies, all human ships, all human stations, he ordered. Effective immediately, humanity will not respond to any alien communications. No trade, no diplomacy, no negotiations. Complete communications blackout. Sir? Lee Dong-hyuk looked confused. That will anger the other species. They depend on human trade routes. Our shipping carries goods for dozens of worlds. Good, Han Minho replied. Let them wonder why we have gone silent. Let them think about what it means when 12 million humans die and the galaxy calls it a territorial dispute. Dr. Park Ji-woo understood immediately. You are buying us time. Time? For what, sir? Nam Tae-hyun asked. Han Minho looked at each of them in turn. These were good people, loyal humans who had served with honor. But service and honor had not saved New Busan. The galaxy respected only one thing: overwhelming force. Time to show the galaxy what happens when you murder human children, Han Minho said. The Velkari think they have taught us a lesson about knowing our place. They have no idea what lesson they have actually taught us. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. Every human ship, station, and colony would receive this message within hours. This is Admiral Han Minho to all human forces. As of this moment, humanity enters a state of absolute silence. No human vessel will respond to alien hails. No human station will accept alien visitors. No human trader will deal with alien customers. The galaxy has chosen to ignore the murder of 12 million humans. Now they will learn what it means when humanity ignores them. The message went out across human space. Within days, alien merchants found human trading posts closed. Alien diplomats found human embassies empty. Alien ships requesting assistance found only silence from human vessels. For the first time in galactic history, an entire species had simply stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. The silence was complete, and it was terrifying. 3 weeks after New Busan died, General Choi Sun-woo walked through the deepest levels of Luna Station. These corridors were not on any official map. The elevators that reached this far down required special codes that only 12 people in human space possessed. The general moved past armed guards and through multiple security checkpoints until he reached a massive vault door marked only with the number 7. Inside the vault, Admiral Han Minho waited with Dr. Park Ji-woo and a woman Choi Sun-woo had never seen before. She was young, perhaps 30, with oil stains on her coveralls and the focused eyes of someone who built impossible things. "General, meet Engineer Baek Hyerin," Han Minho said. "She has been working on projects that officially do not exist." Baek Hyerin stepped forward and shook Choi Sun-woo's hand. Her grip was firm, and when she spoke, her voice carried the confidence of someone who understood exactly how the universe worked. "General, for the past 5 years, I have been developing weapons that violate 3 different galactic treaties," she said simply. "The kind of weapons that civilized species agree never to build because they are too dangerous to exist." She led them to a wall covered with holographic displays showing ship designs, weapon schematics, and mathematical equations that hurt to look at. Choi Sun-woo had commanded special operations for 15 years, but he had never seen technology like this. "This is a planet cracker," Baek Hyerin said, pointing to a torpedo-shaped device on the display. "It burrows to a planet's core and detonates a controlled singularity. The planet does not explode. It simply stops being a planet and becomes a cloud of dust and regret." Dr. Park Ji-woo activated another display. "And this is a temporal displacement bomb. It ages whatever it hits by several thousand years in the space of minutes. Ships become rust. Crews become dust. Mountains become sand." "How many do we have?" Choi Sun-woo asked. "Planet crackers. We can build 50 in the next 6 months," Baek Hyerin replied. "Temporal bombs. We have been stockpiling components for 3 years. We can deploy 200 within 8 weeks. Admiral Han Minho gestured to a massive hologram in the center of the room. It showed human space and the surrounding alien territories. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue dots marked alien worlds. There were far more blue dots than red ones. "The galaxy thinks humans are weak because we have fewer worlds," Han Minho said. "They think we are weak because we follow their rules. They think we are weak because when they kill our people, we ask for justice instead of taking it." He touched the hologram, and new displays appeared. Ship counts, population figures, industrial capacity ratings. The numbers told a story that Choi Sun-woo found surprising. "Humans produce more advanced technology per capita than any other species," Dr. Park Ji-woo explained. "We just never weaponized it fully. While other species built vast fleets of conventional ships, we focused on making each human ship vastly superior to anything aliens could build." "Show him the Shadow Fleet," Han Minho ordered. The hologram changed, revealing ship designs that looked nothing like the vessels currently serving in the human defense fleet. These ships were sleek, predatory, and covered with weapons systems that Choi Sun-woo did not recognize. 300 ships, Baek Hyerin said proudly. "Built in secret over 7 years, each one can outfight 50 conventional alien vessels. They use quantum tunneling drives that can cross the galaxy in hours, instead of weeks. They carry enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems." "Where are they?" Choi Sun-woo asked. "Hidden in the asteroid belt around Proxima Centauri," Admiral Han Minho replied. "Admiral Oh Seul-gi commands them. The entire fleet has been sitting there for 2 years, waiting for orders." Choi Sun-woo stared at the displays, trying to process what he was seeing. "Why build all this in secret? Why not let the galaxy know that humanity possesses this kind of power?" "Because then they would have united against us," Dr. Park Ji-woo said. "Right now, the alien species compete with each other for resources and territory. If they knew what we were really capable of, they would form an alliance to destroy us before we could use these weapons. But now?" Choi Sun-woo asked. "Now they have given us the perfect excuse," Han Minho said grimly. New Busan was not just an attack on one human world. It was a message to all humanity that we are acceptable casualties in alien politics. That our lives mean nothing when aliens want what we have. A new person entered the vault. Captain Nam Tae-hyun carried a datapad and wore the black uniform of Deep Space Reconnaissance. He saluted Admiral Han Minho and then activated a new holographic display. "Sir, the stealth reconnaissance is complete," Nam Tae-hyun reported. "We have mapped every Valkyrie military installation, every orbital defense platform, every fleet anchorage, and every population center. Our ships were never detected." The display showed the Velkari Empire in detail that was almost obscene. Not just the location of their worlds and fleets, but patrol schedules, communication frequencies, supply routes, and defensive capabilities. It was as if someone had stripped the Velkari naked and photographed them from every angle. "How did you get this close?" Choi Sun-woo asked. "New human stealth technology," Nam Tae-hyun replied. "We do not just hide from their sensors. We make their sensors report that we are not there. As far as Velkari instruments were concerned, our ships were empty space." Engineer Baek Hyerin smiled at this. "Quantum phase shifting. We exist in the same location but slightly out of phase with normal space-time. Alien sensors cannot detect something that is technically not entirely there. The Velkari have 47 major worlds," Nam Tae-hyun continued. 8 billion total population. Their main fleet consists of 2,000 ships, but most of them use technology that is decades behind what we can deploy. Their homeworld has orbital defenses that would stop any conventional attack, but our new weapons would go through their shields like they were made of paper. Dr. Park Ji-woo activated another display. "We have also been monitoring their communications. The Velkari, leadership is nervous. They expected humanity to respond to the new Busan attack with threats and diplomatic protests. Our complete silence has them confused." "Confused how?" Admiral Han Minho asked. "They are starting to worry that silence means we are planning something." "Terrible," she replied. "Their military commanders are requesting permission to attack more human worlds before we can respond. But their government is hesitant because they do not know what kind of response they might trigger." Choi Sun-woo studied the intelligence data. "What about the other alien species? How are they reacting to our communications blackout?" "Panic," Nam Tae-hyun said simply. "Human shipping carries 30% of all galactic trade. Human technology helps power 70% of alien industrial systems. Human medical supplies keep dozens of species healthy. When we stopped talking to them, their economies started failing immediately. The Galactic Council has been sending increasingly desperate messages asking us to resume normal relations," Dr. Park Ji-woo added. "They are offering trade concessions, territory adjustments, even reparations for New Busan. But we do not respond to any of it." "Good," Admiral Han Minho said. "Let them suffer. Let them realize what the galaxy loses when humanity withdraws from it. And let them wonder what we are doing while we stay silent." A new figure entered the vault. Scientist Yu Min-jae was covered in coffee stains and looked like he had not slept in weeks. He carried a small device that hummed with barely. "Contained energy. Admiral, the quantum disruptor network is ready," Yu Min-jae announced. "We can deploy them around any star system and create a field that will prevent faster-than-light travel. Any species we target will be trapped in their home systems, unable to escape or call for help." "How many systems can we isolate?" Han Minho asked. "All of them, sir. Every Velkari world can be cut off from the rest of the galaxy simultaneously. They will not even know what happened to their neighbors until it is too late to matter." Engineer Baek Hyerin activated a master display that showed all their preparations. Planet crackers, temporal bombs, the Shadow Fleet, stealth reconnaissance, quantum disruptors, and dozens of other projects that had been developed in absolute secrecy. "Admiral, we can deploy everything within 2 months," she said. "Every human colony is quietly evacuating non-essential personnel. Every human merchant ship is returning to home ports. Every human diplomat is coming home. When we strike, there will be no human civilians in alien space for them to retaliate against." "And our own defenses?" Choi Sun-woo asked. "Every human world now has orbital defense platforms that could stop the entire Galactic Council fleet," Dr. Park Ji-woo replied. "We have been installing them for months while maintaining communications silence. The aliens have no idea that human space has become a fortress." Admiral Han Minho looked at each of them in turn. These people had worked in secret for years, preparing for a war that everyone hoped would never come. But it had come, and now their preparations would determine humanity's future. "The Velkari think they taught us a lesson on New Busan," he said quietly. "They think they showed us that humans must know their place in the galactic order. They believe that 12 million dead humans will make the rest of us more cooperative." He activated one final display. It showed Earth, beautiful and blue and peaceful. 6 months had passed since humanity went silent, and the galaxy was beginning to panic. Captain Song Ji-hoon sat in a crowded alien bar on the neutral trading station Nexus Prime, listening to conversations that would have been impossible before humans stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. He wore the clothes of a Terran merchant, but his identification papers claimed he was from a small human colony that had supposedly been destroyed in a mining accident years ago. As far as official records showed, Song Ji-hoon was dead, which made him perfect for intelligence work. At the table next to him, 3 Velkari officers were drinking something that smelled like burning plastic and talking loudly about the human situation. Song Ji-hoon had learned their language during 2 years of deep cover preparation, and every word they spoke was being recorded by devices hidden in his jacket. "It has been 6 months," the first Velkari was saying. "No human ship has responded to any communication. No human station accepts any visitors. It is like they all just vanished." "Good," replied the second Velkari, a female with the purple markings of a fleet commander. Perhaps the lesson of New Busan finally taught them proper respect for their betters. Humans were becoming too confident, taking too many worlds, acting like they belonged in civilized space. The third Velkari, older and wearing the insignia of high rank, looked less certain. "Commander Vex Anna, our intelligence division is concerned. This level of coordination suggests the humans were prepared for our action. You do not organize a species-wide communication blackout in a few days. This took planning." Song Ji-hoon sipped his drink and pretended to read a datapad while listening carefully. The older Velkari was asking the same questions that were being asked throughout alien space. How had humanity managed such perfect coordination? Why had they chosen complete silence instead of the expected diplomatic protests? "Planning for what? General Zekmore?" the female commander asked. "They are sulking like children who have been corrected. Eventually, they will realize that isolation hurts them more than it hurts us, and they will come begging to resume normal relations." "I am not so certain," the general replied. "Our border monitoring stations report strange energy readings from human space. Massive industrial activity, ship movements on a scale we have never observed. Something is happening in there, and we cannot see what it is." Song Ji-hoon finished his drink and moved to another table, positioning himself where he could continue listening while appearing to work on his datapad. The conversation at the Velkari table was growing more heated. "General, with respect, you are seeing threats where none exist," Commander Vexana said. "Humans are weak. Their military is small. Their technology is adequate but not superior. We destroyed an entire human world in one afternoon with a single fleet. What could they possibly be planning that would threaten the Velkari Empire?" General Zekmore leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Commander, 3 days ago, one of our long-range scouts attempted to probe the edge of human space near the Sol system. The ship vanished. No distress signal, no debris, no trace of what happened to it. Our sensors showed it was there one moment and simply gone the next." "Mechanical failure," the third Velkari suggested. "These things happen in deep space." "Perhaps. But yesterday, another scout ship investigating the first disappearance also vanished in exactly the same manner. And this morning, Overlord Thextar received a message from the Galactic Council. They are requesting an emergency session to discuss the human situation." Song Ji-hoon felt his pulse quicken. If the Galactic Council was calling emergency sessions, it meant other alien species were becoming seriously worried about humanity's continued silence. That was exactly what Admiral Han Minho had hoped would happen. Commander Vexana laughed, but it sounded forced. "The Council is always having emergency sessions about something. Last month it was trade route disputes. Before that, it was mining. Rights in the Outer Rim. They take everything too seriously." "This is different," General Zekmore insisted. "The Council is worried because human trade routes carried goods for 73 different species. Human medical technology kept 12 species from plague outbreaks. Human shipping moved resources that kept entire sectors functioning. When humans stopped participating in galactic commerce, the economic disruption was immediate and severe." Song Ji-hoon had heard similar conversations on a dozen different stations throughout alien space. The Galactic Council was discovering that humanity had been far more important to galactic civilization than anyone had realized. Removing humans from the equation had caused supply shortages, transportation delays, and economic instability that affected every major species. At a table across the bar, a group of alien traders from different species were having their own worried discussion. Song Ji-hoon activated a directional microphone hidden in his sleeve and listened to their conversation as well. My shipments of rare metals from the Outer Rim are 3 months behind schedule, one of them was saying. Human. Transport ships used to move those materials faster and cheaper than anyone else. Now I have to use Thraxian haulers that charge twice as much and take 3 times as long. At least you can get your goods moved, another trader replied. The humans were the only ones who could navigate the plasma storms in the nebula sector safely. Without their ships, I cannot reach 4 of my most important markets. The medical situation is worse, added a third alien. The Kepler colonies were depending on human-manufactured vaccines for the summer plague season. Without those supplies, they lost 40,000 people last month. Song Ji-hoon made notes on his datapad, recording everything for his report to Earth Command. The economic pressure was working exactly as planned. Alien species were beginning to understand how much they had depended on human cooperation, and they did not like the lesson they were learning, but more importantly, he was hearing growing concern about what humans might be planning. The aliens knew that humanity's response to New Busan had been far too coordinated and far too complete to be spontaneous. They were starting to suspect that humans had been prepared for this situation, which meant they might be prepared for other situations as well. General Zekmore was still talking to his companions, and his words were becoming more urgent. Commander, I have been fighting wars for 30 years. I know the difference between an enemy in retreat and an enemy preparing to attack. Humans are not acting like a species that has been defeated. They are acting like a species that is getting ready for war. War against whom? Commander Vexana asked. The entire Velkari Empire? They would need a fleet 10 times larger than anything they possess. They would need weapons technology generations ahead of anything they have shown us. They would need the kind of industrial capacity that takes centuries to develop. Unless they already had all those things and were simply hiding them, the general said quietly. The bar fell silent for a moment as nearby aliens stopped their conversations to listen. The idea that humans might have been concealing their true capabilities was something that had occurred to many species, but that no one wanted to think about too carefully. That is impossible, Commander Vexana said, but her voice lacked conviction. Our intelligence services monitor all major military developments. We have detailed assessments of human capabilities. They are a minor power with limited resources and outdated technology. Our intelligence services told us that attacking New Busan would demonstrate Velkari's strength and human weakness, General Zekmore replied. Instead, it resulted in complete human withdrawal from galactic civilization and economic chaos that is affecting every major species. Perhaps our intelligence services do not know as much about humans as they claim. Song Ji-hoon finished his second drink and prepared to leave. He had gathered enough information for one day, and staying too long in one place was dangerous. As he stood up, he heard Commander Vexana say something that made him pause. Even if humans were planning some kind of retaliation, what could they possibly do? Attack our border worlds? We would respond by destroying 10 human colonies for every Velkari world they touched. Launch a fleet against our core systems? Our orbital defenses would vaporize them before they got within weapons range. The mathematics of the situation are clear. Humans cannot win a war against the Velkari Empire. General Zekmore looked at her for a long moment before responding. Commander, the mathematics were also clear that destroying New Busan would force humans to negotiate from a position of weakness. Yet here we sit, 6 months later, with humans completely ignoring us while our economy suffers and our allies ask uncomfortable questions about our judgment. Song Ji-hoon left the bar and walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime toward the docking bay where his ship waited. The station was bustling with activity, but the energy felt different then. It had before humanity went silent. There was an undercurrent of anxiety, a sense that something fundamental had changed in the galaxy and no one was sure what it meant. His ship was a modified cargo hauler that appeared unremarkable from the outside, but contained communication. Equipment powerful enough to reach Earth instantly using quantum entanglement technology. Song Ji-hoon sealed the airlock, activated the encryption systems, and began composing his report. Admiral Han Minho, this is Deep Cover Asset 17. Fleet Admiral Park Min-seok stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, watching as the quantum tunnel drive prepared to tear a hole through space-time itself. Around him, the crew worked with the focused efficiency of people who had trained for this moment for years. Today, after 8 months of silence, humanity would finally speak to the galaxy again. The bridge was darker than traditional human warships, with displays that showed information in ways that would have confused alien observers. The Retribution was the flagship of the Shadow Fleet, and everything about it had been designed to fight a war that conventional military thinking said was impossible to win. "Admiral, all ships report ready," announced Captain Im Dayun from her position at the tactical console. "The fleet is in position and awaiting your orders." Park Min-seok looked at the tactical display showing 300 human ships arranged, in a formation that had never appeared in any military textbook. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, equipped with weapons that existed only because humanity had decided that galactic treaties were suggestions rather than laws. "Communications? Has there been any response to our message?" Park Min-seok asked. "Negative, sir," replied the communications officer. "The Velkari continue to ignore our transmission. They appear to believe it is some kind of trick or deception. 12 hours ago, Ambassador Lim Gaeon-woo had broadcast a single message to the Galactic Council and every major alien government. The message had been simple. You had your chance for justice. Now you will witness our definition of it. Most alien governments had dismissed it as human bluster, but a few had begun emergency military preparations. The Velkari Empire had responded, with contempt. Overlord Thextar had sent a public message calling humans pathetic creatures who make empty threats because they lack the courage for real action. He had announced that any human ship entering Velkari space would be destroyed immediately, and that humanity should accept the lesson of New Busan and know their place. "Target selection confirmed, Admiral," announced Colonel Jang Hyejin from the Ground Assault Coordination Station. 47 Velkari worlds, 12 major fleet concentrations, and their primary orbital defense networks. All targets have been mapped and assigned. Park Min-seok had fought in 3 wars during his 30-year career, but this was different. This was not a battle between equals or a conflict over territory. This was an extermination operation designed to remove the Velkari Empire from existence in a matter of hours. "Pilot Kang Woo-jin, status on the fighter wings?" Park Min-seok asked. "All squadrons ready for deployment, sir," came the reply from the Fighter Coordination Center. "We have 1,000 human fighters equipped with quantum computing targeting, systems and temporal acceleration drives. Each fighter can outperform 50 conventional alien craft." The young pilot had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in the assault, leading the first wave of attacks against Velkari orbital defenses. His squadron would use experimental technology that could accelerate their ships through time, allowing them to attack targets seconds before the targets knew they were under attack. "Admiral, Quantum Disruptor Network is active," reported tech specialist Im Dayun. "All Velkari systems are now isolated. They cannot call for help, cannot evacuate, and cannot communicate with each other. Each world will face destruction alone, and in ignorance of what is happening to the others." Park Min-seok nodded. The quantum disruptors had been deployed around every Velkari system 3 days ago by stealth ships that the aliens had never detected. Each device created a field that prevented faster-than-light travel and communication. The Velkari Empire had been divided into 47 isolated islands, each one about to face the full fury of human retribution. "Engineering, status on the planet cracker weapons?" Park Min-seok asked. "All devices armed and ready, sir," came the reply. "We have 50 planet crackers distributed throughout the fleet. Each one can reduce a world to asteroid debris in approximately 6 minutes. By the planet crackers were humanity's answer to the question of how to fight an enemy that outnumbered them 10 to 1. Why fight for control of enemy worlds when you could simply remove those worlds from existence? Why worry about alien population centers when you could eliminate the possibility of alien populations? "Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command," announced the communications officer. Admiral Han Minho's face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from his command center beneath Luna Station. Behind him, displays showed the locations of human fleets throughout the galaxy, all moving into position for the largest military operation in human history. "Fleet Admiral Park, you are authorized to proceed with Operation Retribution," Han Minho said formally. "Show the galaxy what happens when aliens murder human children. Show them that humanity remembers every death, counts every crime, and repays every debt with interest." "Understood, sir," Park Min-seok replied. "Admiral, we will not disappoint the memory of Nubusan. The transmission ended, and Park Min-seok turned to face his crew. These were the best humans the species had ever produced, scientists who had solved impossible problems, engineers who had built weapons that violated the laws of physics, and soldiers who had trained for a war they hoped would never come. "All stations, this is Fleet Admiral Park Min-seok," he announced over the ship's communication system. 8 months ago, the Velkari Empire murdered 12 million humans and called it a lesson in knowing our place. Today, we teach them a lesson about the consequences of murdering human beings. Operation Retribution is now active. The quantum tunnel drive engaged with a sound like reality tearing. Space-time folded around the Retribution, and the ship vanished from its position at the edge of human space. Seconds later, it emerged directly above the Velkari homeworld, followed by 99 other human warships. The Velkari orbital defense network activated immediately, launching thousands of missiles and energy beams at the human fleet. But the human ships were protected by shields that operated on principles alien science had never discovered. The Velkari weapons struck the human shields and simply vanished, their energy absorbed and redirected into powering the human weapons. Systems. "Pilot Kang Woo-jin, you are clear to engage," Park Min-seok ordered. The fighter squadrons launched from their carriers and accelerated toward the Velkari orbital platforms. To outside observers, the human fighters appeared to be moving at impossible speeds, but the reality was more disturbing. The fighters were moving through time itself, arriving at their targets seconds before they had actually fired their weapons. Velkari. Defense platforms exploded in brilliant flashes of light as temporal torpedoes struck them before their own sensors had detected the approaching human fighters. Within minutes, the entire orbital defense network was reduced to glowing debris. "Colonel Jang Hye-jin, begin surface operations," Park Min-seok commanded. Teleportation beams activated throughout the human fleet, depositing assault teams directly inside Velkari government buildings, military headquarters, and communication centers. The teams moved with surgical precision, eliminating Velkari leadership while leaving civilian areas untouched. "Admiral, we have control of the Velkari government center," Colonel Jang Hye-jin reported. "Overlord Thextar has been captured alive as requested. All military command centers are secure." Meanwhile, throughout Velkari space, identical scenes were playing out on 46 other worlds. Human fleets appeared without warning, destroyed orbital defenses in minutes, and captured or eliminated Velkari military and political leadership with terrifying efficiency. "Sir, temporal displacement bombs are ready for deployment," announced the weapons officer. "Target the Velkari fleet concentrations," Park Min-seok ordered. "Show them what happens to ships that bombard human worlds. Across 12 star systems, Velkari naval bases and fleet anchorages were struck by weapons that aged their targets by thousands of years in minutes. Mighty warships became rust and debris. Space stations crumbled into dust. Entire fleets simply ceased to exist as time itself was weaponized against them. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender communications from 17 Velkari worlds," the communications officer reported. "They are requesting terms for capitulation. Inform them that the Velkari Empire no longer exists to surrender," Park Min-seok replied. "They are now residents of worlds under human administration, and they will follow human law." On the main tactical display, the conquest of the Velkari Empire was proceeding faster than even the most optimistic projections had suggested. Human technology was so far beyond Velkari capabilities that the aliens had no effective response to anything humanity deployed against them. "Sir, Planet Cracker deployment is ready," announced the weapons officer. "We have identified 3 Velkari worlds with no significant civilian populations that can serve as examples." Park Min-seok considered this for a moment. The Planet Crackers were humanity's most terrible weapon, capable of destroying entire worlds, so completely that nothing remained but cosmic dust. Using them would send a message to every species in the galaxy about the price of attacking human civilians. Deploy Planet Crackers against military targets only, he decided. 3 Velkari, fortress worlds with minimal civilian populations. We are here to eliminate a threat, not commit genocide. Supreme Admiral Yoon Chae-won walked through the halls of what had once been the Velkari Imperial Palace on HFY. The magnificent structure still showed signs of the brief battle that had ended Velkari independence forever, but human. Engineers were already working to repair the damage. The building would serve as the headquarters for the new Human Stellar Republic's administration of former Velkari territory. It had been 3 months since Operation Retribution, and the galaxy was still struggling to understand what had happened. In less than 24 hours, humanity had destroyed a major galactic empire so completely that historians were already calling it the most decisive military victory in recorded history. The Velkari, who had confidently murdered 12 million humans, now lived as subjects under human rule. "Admiral, the relocation program is proceeding ahead of schedule," reported Director Shin Yun-ho as he joined her in the former throne room. As head of human intelligence operations, he had been responsible for the seamless coordination that had made Operation Retribution possible. "How are the Velkari adapting to their new situation?" Yoon Chae-won asked. "Better than expected," Shin Yun-ho replied. "Once they realized that humans had no intention of exterminating them, most Velkari civilians have been cooperative. We have established reservation worlds where they can maintain their culture while following human law. The transition has been remarkably peaceful. The human approach to governing former Velkari territory had surprised many galactic observers. Instead of enslaving or exterminating their former enemies, humans had simply removed them from positions of power and relocated them to worlds where they could live safely under human supervision. It was conquest, but conquest with a level of mercy that alien species found difficult to understand. "What about their former leadership?" Yoon Chae-won asked. "Overlord Thextar and his senior commanders are being held at a secure facility on Luna," Shin Yun-ho replied. "They are being well treated but will face trial for war crimes related to the New Busan massacre. The proceedings will be broadcast throughout the galaxy so that other species can understand the consequences of attacking human civilians." President Lee Na-yeon entered the throne room, accompanied by her security detail and several human officials, who were working to establish the new government structure. She had been elected to lead the Human Stellar Republic just weeks after Operation Retribution, when it became clear that humanity needed civilian leadership to manage its new status as the galaxy's dominant power. "Admiral Director, thank you for your work here," President Lee Na-yeon said. "The transition is proceeding more smoothly than anyone anticipated. How are the other alien species responding to our new territorial claims?" "Complete acceptance," Shin Yun-ho replied. "No species has challenged our right to former Velkari territory. Several governments have sent diplomatic messages acknowledging human sovereignty over the region and requesting reassurance that we have no further territorial ambitions." Yoon Chae-won activated a holographic display showing the current political map of the galaxy. Human territory had expanded dramatically, incorporating 47 former Velkari worlds that were now administered by the Human Stellar Republic. The change had shifted the balance of galactic power so dramatically that other species were still struggling to adapt. "The economic situation is also stabilizing," President Lee Na-yeon continued. "We have resumed limited trade with alien species that demonstrate proper respect for human sovereignty. The galaxy is learning that cooperation with humanity is far more profitable than conflict." Counselor An Ji-hyun arrived at the palace, having just returned from the Galactic Council chambers where she served as humanity's new representative. Her expression suggested that the latest council session had been particularly interesting. "Madam President, the Galactic Council has formally voted to recognize all human territorial claims," Counselor An Ji-hyun announced. "They have also passed a resolution condemning unprovoked attacks against member species and establishing new protocols for diplomatic dispute resolution. In other words, they are terrified and want to make sure nothing like New Busan ever happens. Again," Shin Yun-ho observed. "Exactly," Counselor An Ji-hyun confirmed. The council representatives spent most of the session discussing how to avoid accidentally provoking humanity. Several species have established new diplomatic protocols, specifically for dealing with human concerns. President Lee Na-yeon smiled at this. The galaxy had learned in the most dramatic way possible that humans were not the minor power that alien governments had assumed them to be. The complete destruction of the Velkari Empire had demonstrated human capabilities that no alien species had imagined possible. "What about our intelligence operations?" Yoon Chae-won asked. "Are we maintaining surveillance on potential threats?" "Admiral, we have been monitoring alien communications for decades without their knowledge," Shin Yun-ho replied. "Every major alien government now knows this. which has made them very careful about what they say and do regarding humanity. The psychological effect has been almost as important as our military demonstration. The revelation that humans had been watching and listening to alien governments for years had been almost as shocking to the galaxy as Operation Retribution itself. Species that had considered their communications secure discovered that humans had been reading their diplomatic messages, monitoring their military preparations, and tracking their secret operations since before the first human colonies were established. The galaxy is learning that human silence was never weakness, President Lee Neon said. It was patience while we gathered intelligence and prepared for the day when someone would force us to reveal our true capabilities. A new holographic display activated, showing economic and political data from throughout the galaxy. The information painted a picture of a galactic civilization that was adapting rapidly to the new reality of human dominance. Trade volumes with human space have increased by 400% since we resumed limited commercial relations, Counselor An Ji-hyun reported. Alien species are competing to offer us favorable trade agreements and territorial concessions. Everyone wants to be friends with humanity now. What about military developments? Yoon Chae-won asked. Are any species attempting to develop weapons that could threaten us? None that would be effective, Shin Yoon-ho replied. Our intelligence networks report several species are trying to reverse engineer human technology from battlefield debris, but they lack the theoretical foundation to understand what they are examining. It would take them centuries to develop anything that could challenge our current capabilities. President Lee Neon activated another display showing human military assets throughout the galaxy. The Shadow Fleet had emerged from secrecy and was now openly patrolling human space and former Velkari territory. Other alien species regularly encountered human warships that were obviously far more advanced than anything in their own fleets. The psychological warfare aspect has been remarkably effective, she observed. Every alien government now assumes that any human ship they encounter might be carrying planet-cracking weapons or temporal displacement bombs. They treat every human vessel with the respect they would show to a fleet of dreadnoughts. And they are not wrong to do so, Yoon Chae-won added. Every human ship now carries weapons that would have been considered impossible a year ago. We have made the mistake of underestimating human capabilities, a lesson that no species will want to repeat. Counselor An Ji-hyun accessed data from the latest Galactic Council session, displaying voting records and policy proposals that showed how dramatically galactic politics had changed since Operation Retribution. The Council has proposed establishing a new galactic charter that formally recognizes human rights to territorial expansion and resource exploitation, she reported. Several species have offered to sponsor human membership in previously exclusive trade partnerships. Everyone wants to accommodate human interests before we decide to accommodate ourselves. What about the memorial for New Busan? President Lee Neon asked. Construction is proceeding on schedule, Yoon Chae-won replied. The memorial will be visible from space and will serve as a permanent reminder of what happens when aliens attack. Human civilians. Representatives from 43 alien governments have requested permission to attend the dedication ceremony. The New Busan Memorial was being built on the site where the human colony had once thrived. Instead of trying to restore the poisoned world, humanity had decided to leave it exactly as the Velkari had left it. A dead planet that would serve as a warning to the galaxy about the consequences of murdering humans. The dedication ceremony will be an important moment, President Lee Neon said. It will remind the galaxy that human forgiveness has limits and that human memory is long. Species that consider attacking human interests will be able to visit New Busan and see exactly what their fate would be. Director Shin Yoon-ho activated a final display showing intelligence projections for the next decade. The analysis suggested that galactic politics would remain stable as long as other species continued to respect human interests and avoid actions that might be interpreted as threats. The galaxy has entered what our analysts are calling the Pax Humana, he reported.